Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to this evening's webinar. As you can see, tonight we're covering getting started. Excuse me. And this is one of a series of 8 webinars that I run called the Kleeneze Circle of Success. As you can see, it's the first one, but you don't need to wait until any of the others because they're all recorded, and I'll show you at the end, those of you who are not sure, I'll show you where the recordings are. So if, for example, you've been in the business for a little while and you're keen to understand a bit more about supporting team members, then although I do them once a week, you don't have to wait 5 weeks because you can go straight and watch the last recording if you want to. I do them every Wednesday night, so they're always at this time. I missed the odd one or two, so it probably takes 9 or 10 weeks to do the full series of 8. But anyway, for those of you who are just starting, and I know there's a couple of you who have just joined in the last week or two, this is good timing because we're doing the first one. So what we'll be covering this evening, and it should take us about half an hour or so, is firstly the importance of taking action straight away. I'm going to explain a bit about the 30-day bonus. I do talk about the Facebook selling as well, because that's very important these days. But there's a lot of good information out there, and I'm going to refer you to that and just go through it briefly. I'm going to talk a bit about preparing your catalogues, delivering, collecting, and so on, placing an order, and then receiving the goods and delivering your orders to your customers. So typically, these are the sorts of actions that you would be performing in your first week to 10 days when you first start off in the business. So, getting started, I'm a big believer in saying that you should get started as soon as possible. It's very easy to sort of think, oh well, there's a lot to learn, perhaps I should read some books first, watch some webinars, go to one of the local meetings, make sure I understand everything before I actually put any catalogues out and make any mistakes. But actually, it's really important to get started straight away, as soon as you possibly can, and then learn how to do it better. As it says there, ignorance on fire. If you're enthusiastic and you're on fire, that's much better than kind of reading all about it, and then by the time you get started, you've kind of lost that initial enthusiasm. So the first thing to do, the first actions to take, the best things to take, is to tell your friends and family that you've started this new business, because often they'll be really keen to look at the catalogues and see what interesting products you've got to sell, and your first orders may well come from all of your friends and family anyway. The other thing that you can do, and you can do this before even your catalogues have arrived, is to watch the videos on selling on Facebook. And this is really important because although a lot of people have used Facebook before, the way that we do it within Kleeneze has been working particularly well over the last year or so. We've seen lots of success stories, so it's worth going onto that website, www.sellonfb.co.uk. Might be 5 little videos just about how to set everything up, and that will really get you off to a fantastic start straight away before even your catalogues have arrived. And there's a couple of Facebook groups that you should join. Hopefully your sponsor will have added you to these groups anyway, but if not, you can join yourself. So one which is specifically aimed at online selling, so the Facebook selling generally, is called Kleeneze Online Sales Tips and Hints. So go and join that group. It's a fantastic community of support and little success stories and things that are working well. And then when the catalogues arrive, there's a couple of things that you need to do. So firstly, you need to prepare them before you deliver them out, if you're going to present them or if you're going to letterbox them, which I'll expand on that in a moment. But also make sure you save a few for your local friends and family, because as I said at the beginning, they will often be your best customers and certainly your first customers, because they know you and trust you anyway. So quick question. Are there people who have just started, who have just received catalogues? No, there's obviously some of you guys been in the business a long time, but if there's anybody who's just started yet, Joe and Ocean, I know you've only been in the business a week or so now. Elliot, 4 or 5 weeks, excellent. That's good. So hopefully most of you have got your catalogs now, so that's good. You can those of you who are fairly new in the business can get started with those. So the first thing to be aware of, and I know Joe and Ocean are in the middle of this at the moment, your 30-day bonus. Oh, hi Laura, that's fantastic. Your 30-day bonus is really important because it's a little challenge to to try to encourage you to get as many orders as you can in your first 30 days. And the challenge is to try to hit about £600 worth of orders. It's actually 500 bonus points, but that equates to about £600 worth of orders in your first 30 days. So, quick question, especially for the new people amongst you, would you say that's fairly easy or quite difficult to get £600 in a month? Any thoughts from you guys who've just been in the business a little while? Yep, somewhere in the middle. Elliot, yes. Do you mean yes hard or yes easy? Kathy reckons that's easy. Elliot says hard. Any other thoughts? Carol thinks hard, yeah. Okay, now the answer, of course, is it kind of depends. But what I always say is if you really throw yourself into it in your first 30 days and work harder than you were hoping to, then you can do it. Because if you think about it, 30 days, by the time you get your catalogues, is about 4 weeks. So if you can get about £150 a week in orders, approximately, that's going to be your £600. And a great way to do that is to make sure if you've started off with the Success Kit 1, where you get 250 sets of catalogues, make sure you deliver them all at least once a week. If you can get those out twice a week, that will give you obviously a much better chance of hitting your catalogues. Delivering 250 catalogues once a week will probably take around 8 to 10 hours, depending obviously if you're in an area where there's lots of terraced houses, or if you live in an area where there's big driveways and so on, it might take longer. And on average, once you've been doing this for a little while, you'll hit an average of about £1 per catalogue. So you might be a bit less than that at the beginning, and that's why if you can get at least 250 catalogues out a week, and preferably get them out twice a week, you've got a good chance of doing that. And if alongside that you're doing Facebook selling as well, then that's going to top up your orders. And if you can get an order in each week of £150, then in your 30 days, that would be £600 worth of orders. So it's certainly achievable. Lots and lots of people do it. There's also a lot of people that don't, but you can give yourself the best chance possible by just really throwing yourself into it at the beginning. And the result of doing that, even if you don't quite hit it all, is you get your first income. So from that £600 worth of orders, you should be earning £100, £125. You'll get lots of bonus catalogues. So each time you put in an order of £150, then you get an extra 50 catalogues free. And you can choose either the K-Life or the main ones. You can also choose some free leads now if you're really interested in the team building side. But for replacing your catalogues, this is a fantastic offer. And then if you hit the £600 bonus, as well as getting your official certificate to say you hit your target, you get an additional 50 catalogues on top of that. So it's not unusual for people to start off with 250 catalogues in the pack and end up with 400 or 500 catalogues because they've had so many free ones. If you are going to be delivering catalogues, then you really need to personalise them. So you should get some day slips. Your sponsor can help you with these, either ordering some from you, showing you where to order them, or sending you a template so you can print them yourself. You obviously need the catalogues in the catalogue pack, so you should have at least the main one, and if you've just joined recently, the Christmas one, possibly a summer special or something like that as well. Once you've started to order some extra catalogues, you can add K-Life ones to that if you want to. So make sure that the catalogues are personalised, and by that what I mean is when your customer receives them, they should know it's from you. So as you can see there, our day slips have our name on. You'll have your sticky labels on the back of each catalogue. Sticky labels on the back of each catalogue, so it's got your name on there as well, so your customers get to know you. And what I recommend is when you're making the catalogues up, make the pack the same every time, but put one catalogue upside down and back to front. And the reason for that I'll explain in a moment. When you come back to collect them, you're trying to work out whether your potential customers have looked at the catalogue or not. It's also really useful to make sure that the order form is visible so your customers know there's an order form in there. Now there's a couple of ways of doing it. Again, I would say speak to your sponsor to see which way your sponsor suggests. You can either put the order form at the front, just behind the day slip. You could put it at the back, so that obviously the main catalogue at the front isn't covered up. Or I know Peter Myrna had a great tip, which is if you fold the order form in half and put it at the back, you have the day slip at the front, the order form folded up at the back, and then both catalogues, the one on the front and the one on the back, are visible, so whichever way it goes through the letterbox, your customers can then see it. And the plastic bags that you use to keep the catalogues clean, make sure you change those regularly, because they do get grubby when they're being kind of sat around for a little while. So don't kind of think, oh, I'll just get as much life as I can out of them. If you're putting tatty catalogue bags through your customers' doors, they're not going to be very impressed and you're going to miss out on orders there. Now, when you're planning how many catalogues am I going to put out, what days am I going to do it, what days am I going to collect, it's really, really important to make a plan and stick to it. When you first start off, if this is the first time you've been self-employed, it can be quite a challenge. There are lots of benefits to being self-employed. You've got kind of the freedom to choose your hours and to kind of work as hard as you want to. But if you have traditionally been an employee and your boss says, right, I want you to come in at 9 o'clock and you'll be finished at 5 o'clock, then you almost don't need to think about it. But when you're doing it, when you're your own boss, it's easy to sort of say, oh, this is great, I can have a cup of tea before I go out, and then, oh, the weather's raining a bit now, so I think I'll maybe do a bit of personal development reading or something, or just check this and check that website and do that. Before you know it, it's gone through into the afternoon and you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll do the catalogues tomorrow instead. And then you end up not putting them out for 3 or 4 days and you kind of get behind. So make a plan and just stick to it. Whatever day you said you're going to put your catalogues out, do it. Whatever day your customers are expecting you to collect them back in again, make sure you stick to it. And it's a really good idea to have a weekly planner so that you've got it in writing when you're going to go in and when you're going to go out, deliver the catalogues and so on. And your sponsor will help you determine how many times you're going to go out each week, depending on how much time you've got available and what kind of income you were looking for. Now, I always recommend what I call a 6x4 routine, and that is when you're delivering your catalogues, deliver a catalogue to a house once every 4 weeks. So first time you go out, you'll do some houses nearby, then later on that week perhaps carry on from where you left off, do the next set of houses, the following week carry on from there. So you're kind of working outwards in ever increasing circles, if you like, from your own house. But once you've been doing it for 4 weeks, you come back to the beginning and deliver a catalogue back to the same houses again. You deliver to every house, apart from if somebody's left you a note saying, oh, thanks very much, I don't want a catalogue anymore, or if they just said, oh, I'm not interested and I've thrown it away, then there's no point in putting a catalogue back through that door again, because you'll end up just losing another one. But deliver a catalogue to every house, whether they ordered from you or not, and you repeat that, so go back again to all the houses once every 4 weeks, and then you keep going back 6 times. And the reason for that is you might think, well, if they didn't order the first time and you're putting them mainly the same catalogue through, why would they order the second or the third time? And there's all sorts of different reasons, but typically what you find is people, everyone's got busy lives these days, they might not have had a chance to have a look at it, or maybe they didn't have very much money that month, so they didn't order from you then. And it could be after the 3rd or 4th or 5th time they order from you. But once they've ordered and they get to meet you and they see that you're reliable and you're delivering to them regularly, you'll find you get a customer who orders a lot more frequently then. So if you give up on them after 1 or 2 months just because they didn't order, you'll be missing out on lots of good customers. So when you start off delivering the catalogues, plan your route, and I always say start close to home. The only exception I would say to that is if you live in an area with lots and lots of student houses, then you might want to go a bit further afield, because student houses tend not to be very good at ordering or getting your catalogues back. But other than that, stay close to home. then don't flit about. There's really no need in, there's no value in kind of driving 10 miles up the road because you think that might be a better side of town or something. Just print a map with your your house in the middle, gradually work outwards, highlight each road as you've done it, and then you'll gradually see as you're kind of filling in all the different streets around where you live, where all your customers are coming from. And deliver to every house. Don't prejudge. It's really easy to sort of think, oh gosh, that garden looks a bit tatty, or oh crikey, they look a bit posh in there. Just deliver to every house. You've got no idea who's going to order from you and who isn't, and you just have to give them the chance to decide. And do deliver to houses that have got signs up. There's lots of houses these days that have signs saying no cold callers or no junk mail. And to be honest, I would say probably 2/3 of my best customers have got signs like that. They're elderly people. They don't want people knocking on their doors trying to sell them second-hand nylons or electricity or anything like that, but they love the opportunity to browse through the catalogue. They get to know you and they get to trust you, and they'll order from you regularly every month. And that's all because you delivered through those doors even when they said they didn't want any cold callers or junk mail. One thing just to be aware of, if you're delivering to a block of flats, if you can get into the block and each flat has its own letterbox in each door, then that's fine, just carry on as normal. If you've got a block which has got like 10 letterboxes all together near the main door, then you just have to be careful there, because obviously if you put a catalogue to each of those, you might think, oh brilliant, it took me about 10 seconds and I've got 10 catalogues delivered. But when you go back to collect them, and you've got, say, 4 or 5 of them in the pile at the bottom, you've got no idea which of the 4 and 5 you've got back and which ones you haven't. So you end up having to knock on every door anyway to see, oh, sorry to trouble you, did you put the catalogue out or not? And they may or may not be in. So there are a couple of ways around it. For example, you could put a little sticky label on the outside of each plastic bag and put a number of the flat on, so when you get it back you can see which one it is. But you just need to be a bit careful with flats like that. The other thing that's really, really important, and as a new distributor especially, it's easy to fall foul of this, just ignore any of the distributors that you come across. And by that I don't mean kind of if they're walking down the street, cross the road to avoid them. What I mean is if there's another catalogue maybe outside the door when in an area where you're delivering, then pop a catalogue through anyway. The customer, that catalogue might have been there for a while. It might be a new distributor who's decided it's not right for them and they've just quit. It could be all sorts of reasons why the customer hasn't ordered from them but will order from you. Could be something as simple as they like the sound of your name and they didn't like the sound of the other person's name. So if a customer is happy with their existing distributor, they'll soon tell you. They'll write a little note saying, oh, thanks very much, I already get a catalogue from Sue or whoever, and please don't deliver anymore. And that's fine, you can cross them off your list at that point. However, it's obviously very important when you're collecting the catalogues that you don't pick up the catalogues of any other distributor. So just be careful as you pick them up. Don't just pick them all up as you're going along. Make sure that it is your catalogue. Obviously, if it's got your day slip in or your sticky label on the catalogue, you can just double check that. And as you're going round, make sure that you keep records of which houses you went to. It's easy to think, oh well, I know all the streets near where I live. I'll just deliver all the way up the left-hand side of Johnson Street, all the way down the other side, and then that'll be easy. I'll go back and find them. But you'd be amazed when you get sort of 3/4 of the way up there and somebody will sort of say, oh, excuse me, yeah, I don't really want this catalogue, thank you. And they'll give you it back. And you think, oh, okay, so number 27 didn't want one. And then as you're going round, somebody at number 43 will say, oh, thanks very much, but I already get one from Sue. So, and then you think, oh God, which are the ones that I didn't want to deliver to? And suddenly you'll be starting to forget things. So just as you're going round, make a note of the streets and the houses that you deliver to. It becomes more important when you're collecting them. So I'll explain why in a moment. But just make sure you take your round book with you. And as you're walking around, just make sure you've closed gates behind you, walk on people's paths, don't walk across their gardens. Just the usual kind of polite behaviour that you'd expect anyway. And do talk to people as you come across. Just a cheery hello, how are you? It will go a long way. If there's somebody working in their garden and you say, oh, hi there, I'm just dropping the catalogue through, and you pop it through, they're much more likely to look at it and take an interest because they feel that they've got somebody cheerful that's delivered it to them. Now, when you're collecting the catalogues a day or two later, don't forget to take your round book again, so you've got the notes of which houses you delivered to and any that said they didn't want them. Make sure you also take thank you slips, and make sure you also take your sorry I missed you slips. And so for each house that you go to, you need to check, did you get the catalogue back or not? If the catalogue isn't on the doorstep, then just knock on the door, and I always just sort of say, oh hi, sorry to trouble you, I just come to collect the Kleeneze catalogue which I dropped in a couple of days ago. Now sometimes people might say, oh, I haven't had a chance to have a look at it yet, and that's fine. I always say, oh, that's fine, you can. Would you like to hang on to it for a day or two? I can pick it up tomorrow. And you'll often find that as a result of that, that's indicating they were going to look at it, and then you quite often will find you do get an order because you were helpful enough to let them hang on to it for a day or two. But when you're collecting the catalogue, if you do get the catalogue back, check whether they ordered or not, and do check on the doorstep. I've come across quite often new distributors, they can just whiz round, grab all the catalogues, throw them into the trolley or into their shoulder bag and say, I'll check them all when I get home. And I guarantee that one day during your first couple of weeks, you'll get home, you'll open one of the catalogues up, there'll be a nice big order in there for £60, all sorts of things. You get really excited, and then you realise they've forgotten to write their name and address on the order form. And you're thinking, oh, crikey, which house did I get this from? And if you've just picked up 250 catalogues, you're thinking, oh my goodness me. So for the sake of 10 seconds on the doorstep, just have a quick look. If the order form is there and it's been written on, but they've just forgotten to put in their details, you can just write the address. You might not know their name and contact number, but at least you know which address to come back to deliver the order to. And do have a work out whether or not they've looked at the catalogue. So as I said earlier, when you're preparing them, if you put one of the catalogues in back to front or upside down and back to front, often if people take them all out, usually you can tell that they've looked at it because they put it all back in and it's all higgledy-piggledy. But if they've tried to be kind and sort of put it all back in the order they thought it was in, just to help you out, it often looks as if it hasn't been looked at. But if the one that was upside down and back to front is not, and it's now facing the front with all the others, you know that they have looked at it. And that's useful because you want to keep delivering to people who have been looking at it, because you know they're more likely to order from you. Now, this is what I was saying earlier. If the catalogue isn't there, knock on the door, just say, hi, have you finished with the catalogue? And if they say, I haven't had time to look, just ask them if they'd like to keep it for a day or two, because often people will, and you will often get orders then. If there isn't anybody there, then just pop one of these sorry I missed you slips through, and then you'll need to make a note of that in your round book, and the fact that you didn't get it, so that you can go back to collect it in the next day. 9 times out of 10, if you knock on the door, it's right by the front door ready to put out, and they've just forgotten to put it out for you. And if they haven't put it out and there's nobody in, they'll come back from work, they'll see the sorry I missed you slip, and they'll pop it straight out then. So you come back the following morning or later that evening, and you'll have a pile of catalogues there ready for you to pick up. Now make sure you go back at least 3 or 4 times to get the stragglers, because you might pop it through, say, on a Friday to pick up on a Monday. If they've been away for a couple of days, they might not put it out until the Tuesday or the Wednesday. But by going back 3 or 4 times, knocking on the door, popping a reminder slip through each time, you're showing them the importance of the catalogue to you. So you're not saying, oh, well, if you're not interested, just throw it away. You're saying, look, this is really important to me. I'm paying for these. They're valuable tools of my trade, so I would like it back, please, if you're not even if you're not interested. And it's also worth going back a week later, because it might well be that they've been on holiday, they come back a week later, they see the reminder, they see the day slip saying please pop it out on the Wednesday, and they pop it out the Wednesday the week later. And that's kind of why I say it's really, really important to start locally, because if you're having to go back to the same houses just 2 or 3 times and a week later to pick up stragglers, if you're driving 10 miles to the other side of town each time to do that, then that's taking a lot of time and a lot of petrol. If you're just starting at your local street, then you can be doing these while you nip down the shops or just walk into school or anything like that. Okay, Facebook selling, I'm just going to go through this very briefly because the Sell on FB videos explain this in a lot more detail. But the principles behind Facebook selling is you must make sure that you join at least 30 to 60 local groups. And I've got a few experiences of people that say, oh, well, there's only 5 or 10 near me, so I'll just see how I get on in those. And you really need a bigger number. So even if it means you're advertising in groups that seem to be further afield, don't worry about that, because there will be people from your area who happen to be in those groups. So advertise in all those groups. You create your own group, and your sponsor will go through this with you and show you how to do it all, but create your own group, and you post products in your own group and also in the local groups regularly. And by that I mean pretty much every day. When you're first setting your group up, make sure you've got at least 10 products in there before you start adding friends and family, just so that it looks like there's something in your shop, rather than adding them to an empty shop and they're looking at it and thinking, oh, there's nothing in there, and then they don't bother coming back again. And put items in from both catalogues, the K-Life catalogues. I mean, obviously there's the Christmas catalogue as well now, and the main catalogue. It's good to have a variety. And then every day get into a routine in each group, posting 1 or 2 new products, bumping 1 or 2 products that you've posted recently. There's a great book called Thinking Fast and Slow, and what you'll find is that people will look at products that you're posting, and they might sort of look at something and they think, oh, yeah, that's quite interesting, but they're not really interested in that particular product. So make sure you're advertising. As I said there, you've got an invitation to join your group, because even if they're not interested in that product, they'll be curious to see what else is you've got for sale. So in your own group, they will then ask to join, and that's when you start to get this opportunity to build your little community of people in your own group who will look and see what you're posting every day, and you build a bit of rapport with them, and you build up this core of regular customers, your customer base, in your Facebook group. And building a relationship with them. There's a great story. One of my customers ordered a personalised cushion cover. We do a cushion cover with like your baby's name, date of birth, birth weight, that sort of thing. And I had a lady who I knew she had twins, and she ordered one pink and one blue, because the twins were a boy and a girl, with their names on. But when she sent me the details, I noticed that the birth dates were different. So I thought, Libby must have made a mistake here. She's made a typo. So I sent her an email saying, hi Libby, got your order, thanks very much for that. You've made a mistake though, you put different birth dates on them. And she said, no, that's actually right. One was born just before midnight, and the other was just after midnight. And so they've got different birthdays. And I thought, what a fantastic story that is. And I just put a little story up in the group about Libby and her twins, that I just checked if she was happy for me to do that, with a little photo, and that got such a lot of interest. Other mums sort of saying, oh, what a fantastic story. And that builds that community within your group, which is great for building up that loyalty and trust, so they keep ordering from you. Okay, so when you're ready to place your first order, and this could be just from the catalogues or just from the Facebook or a bit of both, then the website you need to log on to is that one there, kleeneze.co.uk. So make sure you remember your password. When you first registered with your sponsor, you will have been asked to create a password, so make sure you use that. And the important thing to remember is when you're entering your order details, and I'm not going to go through it in detail here, your sponsor will do that with you, but if you get halfway through putting them in and you're interrupted, or you've got another pickup tomorrow, so you want to kind of wait until you've done that before you put the order through altogether, if you get halfway through and you have to log off, it will remember the ones that you've entered so far, so you don't have to worry about losing everything that you've entered on the system at that point. Another important time to remember is in terms of when things get delivered to you. It's 2 working days as long as you get the order in before 3:15. Now I normally say go for 3 o'clock, so you've given yourself a little bit of leeway. So if you put in an order, for example, at 3 o'clock, before 3 o'clock on a Monday, it should get delivered to you on a Wednesday. If you do it on, say, a Wednesday, it'll get delivered to you on a Friday. If it spans the weekend, for example, if you put it in on a Friday, then the Saturday and the Sunday don't count towards the 2 days. So if you put it in on a Friday before 3 o'clock or before 3:15, it would get delivered to you on the Tuesday. So hope that makes sense. There are some slight variations if you're on the Channel Islands or in Ireland, but in general, that's the times to be aware of. Now, when the goods arrive a couple of days later, when it gets really exciting, you unpack the boxes. You then need to sort everything out into your customers' orders, because you will have obviously, Mrs. Johnson who ordered one of these and one of these, and Mr. Smith who ordered two of these, and somebody else who ordered these. You need to sort them all out, and the easiest way I find to do it, speak to your sponsor because they might have slightly different ways, but the easiest way I find is put the items for a customer into a carrier bag, and then I normally staple the blue receipt to the carrier bag. Now normally the customer will write the order on the order form, which is made up of the blue part and the pink part. Now in theory they're supposed to tear them apart, keep the pink copy as their own receipt, and just give you the blue one back. But I find 99% of the time you get both. So what I do is I tear them apart, take the blue bit, staple that to the carrier bag, and then when I'm delivering them, I kind of put all of these carrier bags with the different order forms in attached to them in the boxes. I just use the open boxes, if you like, to hold them all, and then I keep the pink copies as I'm driving around delivering them to my customers as my checklist, so I know who I've got to deliver to. And then when you deliver the orders, now what you will find is if your customers are mainly off Facebook, then the vast majority of them will come and collect it from you. And you can offer to deliver it, and if they're local to you, then that's fantastic. But obviously if they're a bit further away, then they can come and collect it, and they will find it more convenient, and that could well be more convenient to you as well. But if you're delivering, if possible, call them first. If you've got their telephone number, after a while and you get to know your customers, you will probably have most of their telephone numbers. And I've had lots of good feedback from my customers say they really, really appreciate the fact that I give them a call just when I'm on my way. I'll just say, "Oh, hi, Mr. Johnson, it's Chris. I've got your Kleeneze order. Is it okay to pop it round?" And she'll say, "Oh, yeah, that's fine." And they say it just gives them a couple of minutes to kind of get their purse ready, get the money out, and then when you knock on the door, they're all ready and waiting for you. Plus, it just saves you a wasted journey if they're out for the day and you just drive around there thinking that they're going to be in. So give them a quick call. It's a great customer service, and it can save you a lot of time and effort as well. And customers can pay either by cash, which is probably 90% of what you'll get. They can write you a check, or they can pay with a card as well. There's a customer payment line, so they can ring up, or you can ring up and give them their phone. They can pay with a card, but I get very few card payments these days. The vast majority it's cash or checks. If someone writes a check out, they will often say, "Do you want it payable to Kleeneze or to you?" And you can choose. If it's paid to Kleeneze, then you have to pay it into a branch of the NatWest using the gyro slips. If it's paid to you, then you can just pay it all into your own account with the cash. That's fairly simple. And when I'm handing the order to the customer, I just highlight my details on the receipt. I just say to them, "Oh, your blue order form there, that's your receipt. It's got my contact details on there, so if you've got any problems at all, I'm happy to give you a refund or replace it or reorder it for you. Just give me a call anytime." So, pretty much coming to the end now. Quick question, guys, just to see how many of you are still awake. Can you remember at the beginning I was talking about you deliver the catalogues to a house and then you move on to some new houses. How many weeks would it be before you go back to the same house again? Joe and Ocean, 4 weeks, very good. You're quick off the draw there. Sue, 4. Lisa and Kevin, oh, fantastic. You guys have all been wide awake. I'm very impressed. Yep, 4 weeks. Go back about every 4 weeks. We talked about joining Facebook groups. How many local groups should you be posting in to build up your business? Yep, 30 to 60. Very good. Yeah, 30 to 60. Oh, you guys are all on the ball tonight. Very good. Well done. Now, in your first 30 days, can you remember how much in orders you should aim to get? Obviously, you can exceed your target, which is fantastic. But yeah, Joe and Ocean, £600 worth of orders. Yeah, very good. Lots, Shan. Sure, I like it. I like your style, guys. Graham, there you've got 80 groups. Yeah, there's some great examples there. Graham, there, you know, obviously the guide is 30 to 60. The more groups you're in, the more orders you will get. Obviously, it'll take you a bit longer to post to them all, but that's brilliant. Thank you for that, Graham. So those guys, I know some of you will just be doing Facebook, so you may not be doing catalogs at all. But when you first started off, those of you who've been in the business a bit longer, or if you've just started and you're planning to do catalogs, have you got any ideas of how many catalogs a week you're planning to deliver? As I said, some of you might be mainly focusing on Facebook, so it's not relevant to you. But 50 a day, Elliot. Okay. Sean and Stuart, 400 to 600 a week. Yeah. I always say, yeah, and Sean and Stuart, that's really good actually. You always start off doing as many as you possibly can. I always aim to get my catalogs out twice a week. So if I had 250, I'd be putting 400 to 500 a week out. And then as you build up a customer base, you don't need to deliver so many, so you can drop down a bit. So yeah, Lynn, 400 a week, I think that's a good number. I always say minimum of 250 a week you should be aiming at to build your customer base at the beginning. Hi Elliot, yeah, it is a lot, but you need to put a bit of effort in at the beginning to find your customers. And the more you put out, the more customers you'll find. Um, Okay, how are we doing? Okay, so we're pretty much finished now, guys. Thanks for staying with us. What we covered was getting started straight away. It's really important to take action from the beginning because your 30-day bonus, the clock starts ticking the minute you've completed your registration. So if you spend your first week getting ready, then for you it's not 30 days, it's only 21 days or something. So aiming for your 30-day bonus is great just because it gets you off to a good start. It gets you into the routines of working hard at the beginning. And then I kind of went through preparing your catalogs, delivering them, collecting them. I went through the Facebook selling quite quickly, but hopefully it's kind of giving you a flavour for how that all works. And please work closely with your sponsor on that because there's lots of kind of fine detail, if you like, that I didn't go through. And then how to place your orders, receiving the goods, and then delivering them to your customers, because that's the customer service is so important in this business to build that repeat business. Okay, so that's the end of tonight's webinar. I'm just going to turn off the recording if you